Fortunately, tonight I can't come out here and start off the show the way that I probably would want to because of the very tragic news that has happened today. At least if you are in the 985, I do assume that a lot of you did get a lot of the Amber Alerts that the Louisiana State Police did put out. But today is a very tragic day. Look, I'm not going to go into details, but there was an altercation that happened early this morning. A boyfriend severely harmed, worse, killed. His girlfriend, two girls were abducted and were found in Jackson, Mississippi. One was alive and one was not. I've been in the line of work to see very bad things like today. What happened. However, unless you did not see the news today, one of the young girls died along with the mother. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. I don't think it's right to necessarily release names. I know it's all over social media, but the bottom line is, okay, for me, children are the best of us. And that's all I will continue to say. When you harm a child, you are a sick freaking lunatic. My prayer tonight is for the families that are in Laranja, to the families in a meet, and to everyone who is hurting today because of stupidity. So, the community is hurting, I think, because of this. Because, guys, in Tangi, this kind of thing, it happens, but not very often. I'm kind of sick to my stomach, if I'm going to be honest with you. So yeah, I don't know really the words, but I pray for all of those involved. Let's get rolling though. We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino, on this episode 950. Look, man, only 50 episodes away from 1,000. Man, 950 of these things. and it's definitely more when you count in probably the 100 plus we've done on Ruffino and Joe show, SEC Gumbo, all the way back in the day. So, yeah, what a day it is for 950. Got a lot of recruiting we need to talk about. Gavin Killen, the shortstop from Louisville, who LSU is after. We'll talk about him a little bit tonight as well. We'll talk about some football recruiting. I do think that there are some guys that have stood out this week. Lamar Brown was on campus today, the big-time offense or defensive lineman from U-High was in or on campus, LSU, but was seen in front of the coaches today. Nishan Montgomery, who ran a 4.4 today. Also another guy that we need to keep our eyes out on. So we'll talk about some recruiting, baseball and football related. I think that that's going to pique some interest, especially for some of you baseball fans. Paul Mainieri was announced today. Going to go on a little bit of Ruffino's rants to start off the show. Yeah, Paul kind of was pissing me off a little bit today. You're not going to be able to convince me that there was a clean break from Terry Rooney, and for it to come from Paul Mainieri, who today in his press conference, I've told y'all this, but the media people around here are going to kill me. but it is what it is. Paul Mainieri today not wanting to use the word we as in LSU when he won a national championship here. You act like for the last couple of decades that this place hasn't backed you, been a part of you. How did you not learn anything about this place? So we'll talk a little bit about that. One thing that we did talk about when Paul was hired, he came out the gate and said he's going to delegate in recruiting and NIL to his staff. Of course he is. Of course he is. He's not going to get out there and recruit. So it is what it is. We continue on our weekly quest here, continuing to break down every P4 team that LSU plays tonight. After the break, in a couple of segments, we'll do this. But we look at UCLA. So the last 2 weeks, we have broken down both USC teams, the one on the West Coast and the one on the East Coast. Tonight, we do talk about the UCLA Bruins. Now, I almost stopped myself just a tad because LSU does play South Alabama. And the thing about that, man, is that their new head coach or their old head coach is now the DC at Alabama. Maybe at the end of all these, we'll talk about some of the group of 5 opponents or G5 opponents that LSU plays. You probably shouldn't disrespect the team ever. So I'm just going to do the P4 tonight. We land on UCLA. Conference name changes and being sponsored, or conferences being sponsored by big-time brands. If you missed it today, the Big 12 announced that there's a potential that they're going to do a sponsorship and even a name change. So it could be like All-State 12 Conference, like the All-State 12 Conference. That is the stupidest thing ever. Why don't you make it or keep the conference the Big 12 presented by said sponsor? Why not? Don't stop changing names, stop being stupid. But if you miss why they're trying to change their name or add to it, it is because the Big 12 is fighting because they want to get massive revenue for football so that they don't fall as a conference that they can give to their schools and that they will be fine in doing that. I do think it's smart. Just don't change the names. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. It's pretty big news for just college athletics in general, so we'll touch on that. And at the end, I've said this for the last 3 days. I keep forgetting. I did answer some of them, but hashtag Ask Blake's thoughts, questions, concerns. We'll get to as many of them tonight as we can here. Let's get to a couple of them. Though Brian Turner says, what's up, Blake? Whose receiving core will dominate first, LSU versus USC? It's a good question. Also, who made the better DC hire in your non-biased opinion between LSU and USC? That's a really good question. Let's start with the first one. Brian, I do think that LSU does have a proven receiver in reference to, like, Kyron Lacey is going to be the highest or the receiver for both teams that have the has the most catches in a season, most yards in a season, most touchdowns in a season. But you do have guys like Zachariah Branch on the other side. I would go push on the I just really would go push on the receiving core. Even though I like this one, I think both sides, like, for example, USC does not have a wide receiver that had over 400 yards last season returning. So I look at that and say there's a lot of talent in both rooms, but I don't think that you could come out here and say either one of them. Now, I know that our good friend Carter Bryant says that they'll have the best receiver on the field for either team, where I don't necessarily disagree with that. I do think talent-wise, LSU has more. But the question is, as you said, whose receiving core will dominate first? So in that question, I don't know, because there's a lot of unproven on both sides of the ball. And your second question, who had the better DC hire, USC or LSU, D'Anton Lynn or Blake Baker? Here's what I'm going to tell people. And look, you're going to get to need, or really going to need to get used to me saying this. Now, you're going to hate it. And what you're going to do is what you've done the last 4 years when LSU's had an opener, and I've given you concerns about the opening game because you go through camp, guys look good. Oh, USC's defense is ass. Be careful with them because they did bring in a lot of different pieces from the portal defensively. They lost some, but they added some as well. When Oregon State had a coaching change, they got 2 elite tacklers from Oregon State. Don't say Omar Speights. This is completely different. Secondly, D'Anton Lynn likes to send a lot of pressure, and he's got a very NFL type of style to the defenses that he calls, and it was why UCLA was really good last year defensively. You know, ironically, UCLA was one of the better, I think, in the running game. They were top 5 defense in stopping the run. They had some secondary issues, not necessarily D'Anton's fault. I think that they just didn't have a lot of, or they did have a lot of young guys that are better than LSU's was. That's for damn sure. I don't know about who got the better DC. I mean, because if you want to be biased and say Blake Baker, I don't think that you're wrong, though, if you're just looking at reality. But I do think that people around here specifically would say that D'Anton Lynn is, it's Blake Baker without question. And I think they're both extremely up-and-coming, talented defensive coaches. Like, I could see next year or within a next 3-year span, both Blake Baker and D'Anton Lynn are your next wave of head coaches somewhere. That I could easily see that. So I don't want to say push for both, okay? But what I would say is that you got a lot of the same question marks. Look, here's the truth. You are very similar to USC. A Heisman Trophy winning quarterback leaving, receivers leaving. Now, you had more receivers than they do. You got coordinator changers defensively. You have position coaches defensively that were changed. I mean, you got a lot of the same similarities. Year one, USC went to a New Year's Six Bowl. You're a loss away to being in a New Year's Six Bowl, maybe against USC. You have a lot of similarities in these two programs. If I told you, like, hey, let me ask you which team I'm talking about right now. You have to replace a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. You got to replace a running game with that as well. You have defensive line issues in stopping the run. You have some very talented but very young corners. You have a new defensive coordinator who has really done well at the last place where they were calling plays. How else do I want to? You're going to be very aggressive defensively. You know, the only thing that I would say is LSU's offensive line would dominate over the one that USC has. There are tons of similarities. So, yeah. Brian Turner also says UCLA finished top 10 in total defense, second in rush defense. It's a filthy unit. They were filthy. And look, we're talking about UCLA tonight. So USC or Southern Cal, South Carolina. Tonight we talk about UCLA. The big point that we talk about here is D'Anton Lynn leaving, and they had guys hit the portal. You know, they had their second leading tackler go to USC. So there's a lot of things that we got to discuss. You have a young coach that's never been a head coach coming. We'll get to all of that. But listen, man, you have a very tricky situation. Tricky is the bad word. You have in the first 4 games of LSU, first 4 games of LSU season, I think you find out more about teams maybe than anywhere. You know, so we'll see, man. We'll see. All right. We got lots to get into, lots to discuss. Sorry I stayed on one question, but it was what it was. Jordan Haydad says that he's got $500 on FFSU tomorrow night. You know, what's interesting with that is my buddy Bill King said that he had bet on Florida State too. Adrian Bailey says UCLA defensive coordinators at USC now. Yeah, that's what we were discussing. Marvin Mackey says USC defensive front might have the edge. I mean, there's a possibility that they could. So, look, tons that we got to get to here. Listen, here's the truth, too. I'm very fired up to start talking about a lot of football. We're not that far away. We got some baseball stuff we got to start off. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant, talk about some quick football, baseball recruiting, and then we're going to get to some real deep in analytical, opinionated football discussion. I'm fired up for that. I promise you. All right, let's get rolling. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Share to all those groups. If you're on Facebook, share to all of those social media pages. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, notification bell, and wherever you are listening to us on podcast, rate, review, and subscribe. Let's talk about our good friends over at betonline.ag. Our good friend Tyler Alexander, guys, rated the number 2 real estate agent in the state. You got to give him a call. While the rates are going down, you give him a call. You want to buy a new home, you want to look for a new home, call Tyler Alexander today and let him know Blake sent you on by. And our good friends over at J&J Exterminating, tons to get to. We have no time to waste. Let's get to it. Stay with us. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. No, not mud bugs. Unwanted bugs like these. The ones you don't want crawling in your home or business. Trust the Shield from J&J Exterminating. We've been protecting Louisiana homes for over 50 years, earning the trust of our clients because we deliver what we promise. Protect your home from pests. Get the Shield from J&J Exterminating.
J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
We're back. The first big board of the Rocco's Jello Shot Challenge has just been released, and wouldn't you believe it? The Kentucky Wildcats are out in front with 126 Jello shots. They lead the pack in Omaha. I'm going to tell you, man, don't try to drink a Kentucky man underneath the table. You'll get embarrassed. But North Carolina, born and raised, take your shirt off, flip it around like a helicopter, is in second at 107. And, of course, Florida, as they normally do, and Virginia, completely just sad. Tennessee, not bad, got 82. Florida State, not bad, got 89. We're Jello Shot. We're on Jello Shot call right now. How about that? How about that? We're not here to talk about Jello shots. We're actually here to talk about a little bit of baseball and football related to LSU. Let me go on this quick rant because, and you're going to hit the like and share, but let me go on this quick rant. Today, Paul Mainieri was introduced as the next baseball coach of South Carolina. And I was like, look, man, I wonder what, and just, content creating purposes, I'm like, I'm going to go watch it. Let's just see what Paul says. Let's see if he learned some things or two. And ironically, it kind of left me being pissed off. Now, yes, the day might have just done that, maybe more than Paul did. But what is very crazy about that is I felt some shade from Paul Mainieri towards LSU. Now, some of the fans that love Paul and the media, of course, the media around here is going to say I'm 1,000% wrong. Okay. No, I'm not. Refusing to. Paul has been here a long time, 15 years plus. He's been in Louisiana and Baton Rouge. He knows the little small insults he can hurl and saying that, hey, I really wasn't trying to walk away. Now look at me. Okay, sounds cute. But Paul said some interesting stuff today. I wasn't forced out. Nobody fired me. I had health issues. Guys, I'm not saying that Paul Mainieri did not have health issues. I'm not saying that his neck wasn't messed up. Stress was building up, which we'll talk about here in just a second too. Come on. Come on. Like, we all know what happened here. Let's not act like we don't. But the bottom line, like the legitimate bottom line today, when Paul Mainieri was announced as the next the next baseball coach at South Carolina, not refusing to say we, like refusing to really talk about some of the things he did at LSU. I mean, unless I'm going crazy, didn't thank Baton Rouge, didn't thank the state, didn't thank anybody. Most coaches, when they run out there, will say, you've been in this situation before. I enjoyed my time at LSU. I love LSU. He talked about Skip Bertman, and he talked about the coach that replaced him, not using Jay Johnson's name in that entire thing. Yeah, you're telling me without telling me, at least because I know some things that have happened behind the scenes. Guys, there's bad blood right now between your coaching staff and this coaching staff. The Terry Rooney situation, no comment. Okay, well, let's dig into that one, why don't we? Because a good reporter is going to find out. I'm not saying I am. I'm just saying that you're telling me without telling me, Paul, Jay alike, when you've gotten to the microphone, even though Terry Rooney did a press conference today and completely lied through his teeth, that's neither here nor there. And talked about the previous staff that he was on. Why won't you mention Jay Johnson's name? Because you definitely will run out there and say, well, what did he say? What did Jacques do say he was on with in an interview? Well, Jacques, half those players are mine. More 2/3 of those players I recruited. And then, which gets to the whole point of, I think Paul's bitter. And he ran out there today and not throwing haymakers. He took some subtle shots. Okay. All right. See you in Columbia, ho. Just joking. But for real, see you in Columbia. Guys, Paul, look, when somebody is run out not on their own volition, Paul didn't want to quit. Paul wanted to continue to coach. He says today, well, look, my family was the one that kept pushing me. I wanted back. He said, I wanted back in. He talked about his health and saying, yeah, the last 3 years I've been good. Oh, so you were good. You gotten better. No, stop, as the kids would say in today's society, stop the cap. Stop the cap. But whatever this little situation that's going on here between Rooney, Paul, Jay, what did Jay do to deserve any of this? Like, what did Jay do for you not to give him the common courtesy and say, hey, coach, listen, I know that you're in recruiting meetings. I know that, I know that you're doing whatever it is you're doing in the offseason. 3 days ago, I talked to Ray Tanner, and I might be taking the South Carolina job, and Terry Rooney might be my next pitching coach. Sounds good. Thanks for giving me a heads up. That way they can keep him out of the recruiting. He's a recruiting director, player development, or whatever the shit his roles were, or whatever the damn stupid title it was that they gave him. He was deeply in recruiting. So I think that this has, and what's interesting is sports do this without ever there necessarily being a traditional rivalry, right? Like, for example, I mean, South Carolina is not an LSU rival. They are now. They're about to start to be, because you already got bad blood between both coaching staffs. Paul Mainieri has been here for a decade and a half, and with that all being said, you got to play him next year. And there have been some really big games against South Carolina the last 2 years, and now will be in the future 3. You go out there, you split 2 games, you can't play the third one. You get into the SEC championship games in both years, if you remember. You led off with South Carolina, and then you played South Carolina twice. And this one, in Michael Braswell gets the hit. Bang, so does Stephen Milam. But the rivalry kind of there from a baseball perspective is brewing a little. So, not to necessarily get into all the weeds, even though I said this the other day, and some balding chin-strap scallywhack who continues to talk trash about me. Anyway, I don't think it's fair that we got to go back to Columbia. Why do we got to go back there? We've been there. Why don't you pay us the courtesy back? So Paul did have his press conference today. It was what it was. What is interesting is some of the things that he said. The big issue or big question that I had, about Paul Mainieri's return was, would he recruit? Because I think that he lacked in that, down the stretch of his career. How would he react to NIL? It was the first question that he was asked. And then he went on this long bullshit tangent to introduce his staff. Like, he introduces his staff after somebody talks to him about recruiting in the portal. So I'm like, well, why are you, I'm thinking to myself during this time that he's talking about his staff, when they asked him about the portal and the NIL, at the end of it, he says, I'm going to delegate it and learn it from them. Oh, well, of course you are. So the biggest concern that all of us had was, are you going to recruit the way that you need to recruit in today's world, in today's society? No, he's not. No, he's not. A second thing that Paul said in that about NIL, he said, I'm learning from Mainieri and I'm learning from Terry Rooney. Okay, so you're putting it on them. So the biggest lifeblood that fuels the dreams of champions, which is recruiting, you're just going to delegate it, huh? That's why people were asking, is he a relentless recruiter in this conference that is absolutely brutal? I don't think he's a better recruiter right now than Nick Mangione. I don't think that he's a better recruiter than Tony Vitello. I don't think he's a better recruiter than Jay Johnson. I don't think he might be a better recruiter than Dave Van Horn, if I'm being a little honest with you. Oh, by the way, Texas, Oklahoma coming into the league. If they want to make a splash with their head coach, what happens there? Seems like that they're waiting for Tony Vitello, but Kevin O'Sullivan, Vanderbilt with Corbin. Like this, I don't know that he is in that world. He literally was asked about recruiting in NIL. He goes, I got my staff here. I got my staff. Going to delegate it to them and learn from them. All right. Stop. The second thing, too, and I see Stephen Young in the chat. He goes, or Wes Johnson. It's the lefty closer from Alabama. So Wes either. Paul also said today that I thought was very key. You know, I think it's interesting to hear Paul break down what kind of team he wants. Guys, the last 5 years is basically what last 5 years of his career is basically what he said. I want to play. I want to get athletes. I want to run. I want to have people that are a complete team where we have the ability to hit home runs and bunt. Okay. I'm telling you, South Carolina fans, you better look up who Hal Hughes is, because if you look up who Hal Hughes is, you're going to find some of the players that this man will recruit. I'm telling you, dude. He's got talent right now at South Carolina that returns, a lot of it. So Paul's first year, yeah, he's going to have some talent. But all right, man. Okay. The staff around Paul's going to have to be massive. If Terry Rooney and Monty Lee can't close, then South Carolina's in trouble. 100% in trouble. Another thing, he was asked about Monty Lee, who was the assistant coach there, was the head coach at Clemson for a long time, and he said that, I'm not going to be here long, or I'm not going to be here forever. I hope Monty takes it over for me when I'm done. Mm-hmm. Ray Tanner told you to say that shit. Very petty. Very petty. Seems to be Paul, man. The media ate from his hand, though. The media legitimately ate from his hand the entire time here because he knew their name. He would say their name. He would talk to them off record. If they had a question, he would respond to it. He played people, bro. I'm just telling you, he played people. So that's my little rant. I think this is going to go. I don't think this is going to go over smoothly. I got to be honest. I legitimately don't. I don't think it's going to go over smoothly. I think he might have a good year, 2 years, but there's a lot of risk with delegating things to his staff. What if Terry Rooney gets another head coaching job? What if Monty Lee gets offered? I mean, there's so many different question marks here. So we'll see. Speaking of baseball, let me get to a recruiting piece very quickly before we transition out of all of this. Look, Baseball America, D1, baseball, whoever you follow, whatever service you like about portal baseball rankings. There was a kid today that was ranked amongst pretty much the collective. The number one player in the transfer portal right now, that is Gavin Killen, the shortstop or second baseman. Steven Milam's probably got second base if the kid were to come here. I get it. But shortstop, second baseman, the middle infielder is the number one player in the transfer portal right now. Gavin played at Louisville last year and was absolutely electric. Absolutely electric. He hit 330, 9 home runs, 41 RBIs. Well, you should be asking yourself, well, why is this kid, a kid that hit 9 home runs and 41 RBIs, the number one player in the portal? Because out of 215 at-bats, this guy struck out 22 times and walked 7 times. Guys, 11% of so 89% of the time, Gavin is putting the ball in play. Let me say that again. This kid hit 330 in a conference that produced 4 teams that went to Omaha this year. 9 home runs, played really good at short. And I think that you're going to be one of the top teams, if not the top team that's after him. Now, baseball portal recruiting can be very different than any other sport. So you got to remember, and we've talked about this before, you got to retool your brain. In baseball, a lot of the times, the big dogs that pay are usually the ones that are going to get these type of dudes. I also will remind you, a lot of these players have agents. A lot of these deals are kind of already cut. So, yeah, we'll see how that works. But I think LSU is definitely in line for this kid. I hope that they get him. Now, the question becomes a middle infielder. What do you do with Braswell? If he comes back, what do you do with Milam? If Gavin wants to play more at second base, even though he does not, I highly doubt that he wouldn't want to do that. You let the kid come in and you have a plan formulated for him. And if he wants to play short, you're going to have to move Brazzy over somewhere. Maybe Milam can play third. I don't know. Get the talent in, get this kid in, and figure it out. Figure it out. If you remember, like when Tommy Tanks came here, a lot of people thought like, hey, man, this kid's not going to be able to play third base in the SEC. He's probably going to have to go to first, and we're probably going to have to put Trey out and left. You remember that conversation? That was a conversation that everybody was running with on a historical basis, or just DH for the Tanks. Like, that was the conversation you're having. Get the kid in here and you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. So I do think that it's very interesting that all the services put Killen at number 1. Not a guy that's going to steal a lot of bases. I don't know if Louisville necessarily wanted him to, but was high in the order. He could be a leadoff guy for you. He's going to attack. Now, the kid is going to swing it at a lot. Guys, again, 89% of the time, this kid is putting the ball in play in the ACC, and he doesn't strike out a lot. It's very rare that he does. Very, very rare that Gavin Killen is going to strike out, that he's going to walk. It's somewhat pure insanity, if we're being honest, of just how much this kid can put the ball in play. Let's see what happens throughout the weekend. Let's see what happens throughout the next 10 days or so. But if I do have a feeling that if you get this kid on campus, I don't know if he leaves. You need him. You need him. If you're able to get him, if you're able to really try to go after the root kid from ECU, I think LSU is going to have a lot of names in this weekend. As the week, I thought we'd have them today. We did not. Maybe we'll get, officially official, get some more names that are coming in on tomorrow. So I would assume somewhere around midday. With all of that, though, guys, if you can land this Gavin Killen kid, you're starting to cook with some grease. I see this. Pulse Up says that Braswell can play third. He's got an arm for that position. I don't disagree with that. I guess my question would be, number one, is he wanting to do that or willing to do that? Number two, can Killen play it if he were to come? Right? Does he want to play third? I doubt he does. I'm sure he wants to be at short, and I'm sure that's what you would recruit him as. But I think that, you can have a conversation with Braswell. See what happens. Does he have a glove? I mean, he had a lot of errors at short, man. A lot. And a lot of routine plays. We'll see. We'll see. There's there's questions. None of us know what's going to happen because we don't even know if Brazzy's not going to get drafted. Right? So, we'll see. We'll see. But I think that look, go get the kid and then figure things out later. Right? Go get the kid, figure everything else out later. What's also interesting about Gavin too, and I'm pulling up his stats here. Give me just I'll pull them up. Hold on. One thing that I did see defensively. Let me make sure that I can pull this back up. It's not showing me. Guys, can y'all find the errors that he had last year? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. They're not showing the 2024 errors that he made. I'll have to go look that back up. He did, okay, in 27 games during the summer, did have 10 errors. So last year during summer ball, the thing that I did see is that he does have an high error rate. But he's got a lot of double plays. Dude, he led the country in turn doubles, or led the conference, in turn double plays last year. Kick and play it a little bit. I do worry about that. 10 errors in 29 games is a lot. So I'm going to try to see how many he got there. So all in all, still though, man, I think really good. You know what's reminded me? Paul Mainieri said today, somebody asked him, I think it was our buddy Mike Yuva, about like what's one philosophy that you will not give up, and he said defense. Another shot at Jay. It's another. I'm telling you. Now he fully believes that though, but he could have said it in different ways. See, Aaron Miller got it before you guys did. What do we keep the interns around here for? 24 hours and 185 chances. It's not bad. Let's see there. It's a lot of errors for that. Well, I mean, not a lot, but 24 divided by 185. 12%. We'll see. Yeah, 95.951. Not bad. I wonder what was Braswell's. Because he had 16 last year. What was Jordan Thompson's? God bless it. What was Jordan Thompson's? All right. Let me do this. Let me reset. Oh, football recruiting. Yes. So LSU did have a big-time guy on campus today, that being Lamar Brown. Look, the kid's a 2026 player, but look, man, something I want to mention. There is an interesting thing that could develop here. Now, you got to close. You got to do what you got to do. The 2026 recruiting class in Louisiana has 4 defensive linemen that can play at LSU. And I'm including Lamar Brown in that if he goes that route. If he doesn't, then you have 3. Lamar Brown was on campus today, and I thought he looked really good. However, man, this state's about to produce something serious. And if you're able to lock the state down, not this year, but next, then you really got something special. Really. I am interested to see if there was a player at camp this week or last that's up climbing up the leaderboards. You remember this time last summer, Kylan Billiot, the kid from Homa, really started shooting up because nobody really knew what was going to happen with Billiot, but he went to the football camp. He was so good, they offered him, and then he kind of shot up recruiting boards because, of what he looked like in LSU offer, whatever. I'm interested to see if today one of these guys don't break through. Now, I'm going to throw out a random one, okay, that because he timed very well, and I agree with this assessment from some, but the Nashawn Montgomery kid from Miami, Florida, He's a 4-star wide receiver, 172, 172nd ranked player in next year's class. Did run a 4.4 today at LSU. So I do start to question, are there going to be some guys that start emerging for this upcoming recruiting class that maybe that we have not discussed yet? So we'll see. All right. See, look at this. Hold on. Is this Braswell's? Aaron, 13 errors and 205 attempts, and you're telling me 24 errors for Kylan and 185 attempts. Oh, y'all gonna hate him. Y'all gonna say to pull him. Y'all gonna say to pull him. Let me write this stat down because this is gonna be used again. It made me have a thought. So wait a minute. You mean to tell me that Michael Braswell was better defensively than this per stats on this kid? I'm going to text this to some buddies of mine and see if they know. So 24 errors in 185 attempts. Braswell had 13 in 205 attempts. Ooh. Ooh. That's going to piss some people off. It's a big deal, man, and that's why I brought it up. I couldn't find it when I was looking at it, but I do think that that's a big deal. That's why I kept bringing it up. All right. Let me get to a quick break. We come back. We talk about UCLA. We continue on our path with breaking down teams that we've been doing it every single Thursday. Very much looking forward to get to that. Let me get to a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Hit the like and share. We're back next. Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Falls and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Falls has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirements.
By the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Whether you've been injured in an accident, you're preparing for a future with your estate planning, you're getting ready to close in on a real estate deal, or you're about to welcome a new addition through adoption into your family, or you're facing criminal charges, you need very experienced attorneys, and that is what the Drake Williams Law Firm will be able to do for you in navigating the legal system. The door to their cozy office in historic downtown Ponchatoula has been open since 1981. They have helped thousands and thousands of Louisiana families and individuals win cases, close on real estate deals, and regain that peace of mind. Their lawyers over at the Drake Williams Law Firm, Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, are very determined, compassionate, and dedicated to their craft. It's the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by.
J&J has protected Louisiana homes and businesses for over 60 years.
Call him today, make the pests go away. J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
Oh, I was muted. Am I still muted? No. Okay. All right. Oh, man. I was looking at something and then got distracted. Hold on. Hold on. Buy patience. Be patient here. I need to see something because I closed out my notes. Jace Thomas, the kid from Destran, 3-star recruit, safety DB. was offered today by LSU, ran a 4.49 and just got an offer. It's going to be interesting. I wonder if that kid can break loose. I saw it 30 minutes ago that he posted it. So good luck to him. Let's monitor that one a little bit, see what happens there. Guys, we continue on our quest for teams, at least Power 5 teams, that LSU plays throughout the season. Some of these will do 2 a day, whatever. But we go to UCLA, a game that I got to be honest, I am surprised is being played. Let me tell you why. I thought when LSU had USC and UCLA on the same schedule in 1 year, one would ultimately be moved. I thought that would be UCLA. It was not. Here they come. They are coming into Death Valley. You remember the game that we played in LA a couple of years ago was the downfall of Ed Orgeron. Got fired 5 weeks later. Now UCLA comes back here. So everybody obviously remembers the Chip Kelly scenario where he left UCLA as the next head coach. Now he's the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. Deshaun Foster comes in. Now they're going to be very spread. They're going to try to keep a lot of things the same. But the running backs coach, who was there last season then left, is now back as the head coach of UCLA. I'm very interested to see how Deshaun Foster is able to get this program back into what they believe is the right spot. I do think that he's going to do some really good things in recruiting. I do think that this is a big position for someone that's never been a head coach. 100%. Now, I do know that Chip Kelly really left UCLA in a tough spot. I have no idea what to expect before we see UCLA play, what they're going to do. Now, they did add, some pieces here along the offense and defense, but I think that they're going to be a very run-heavy team. Something that you are not really good at stopping. Because, look, they do have what they would have had as their next great quarterback at UCLA. Dante Moore leaves, but I don't really know what they're going to do at that position. You know, Ethan Garbers is still there. Justin Martin is still there. Chase Griffin is still there. I have no idea what they do at quarterback. No idea whatsoever. So when I look at UCLA and look at all of the departures that they've had, a head coach will be 3 games into his tenure. And I do think that you want a little bit of revenge. Now, I know that none of these guys that were on this team, at least a couple of them were, like Major Burns. Some of those guys don't remember that game and weren't here for that. Feels like such a long time ago, right? But I think you get a really good game at home. And I think that, guys, quite honestly, I would not be shocked that if at every level you're better at them then. I think you can out-scheme them. I think that you can out-athlete them. And I'm not trying to throw a shot at Deshaun Foster at all. Not even one. But there are levels to this. And I don't know on really any level they are better than you in. I don't think they're better at you receiver. I don't think they're better at you along the offensive line. I don't think they're better than you at the tight end position, quarterback, running back. Now, defensive line, unfortunately, I do think that they are better than you there because they showed it. A lot of those guys came back. A lot of those depth pieces at UCLA came back. What I would tell you, is if there's one thing that I would monitor with this UCLA team. Now, I do know that UCLA is replacing D'Anton Lynn, who was their defensive coordinator who went to USC. But I look at them defensively and say they bring back Aboyu, they bring in back Toyoa, Cano Williams, and they add Jacob Busick as well. So 3 of their big key pieces that they had last year. Now they're missing the guy, Latu that got drafted early last year. He's not there. He was a big part of their production. But guys, they have a lot of pieces returning. They do add 2 portal pieces in their secondary, and I will tell you, both of them are at safety. That's not good for them, because I think if there's one thing that LSU under Brian Kelly in both seasons has exploited from a schematical standpoint is if you have weak safety play, LSU is going to absolutely abuse everything that you do. Like, I thought that Alabama in 22 had very bad safety play. They got beat. Also lost them a national championship 2 years before that, but what do I know? I look at Florida State, though, that had really good safety play, and they exploited you. Guys, you look across the board, yeah, I do think their front 7 may be better than yours, but outside of that, you should be able, in your own place, to take care of business. Don't overlook any of these teams early in the season, though. Because I feel like what we're doing right now is we're looking at teams like USC. Oh, well, their defense stinks. Oh, UCLA, they got a new head coach. We really don't know. They got to come here. They're going to get their ass beat. Just don't overlook anybody. I don't think you're going to lose. I'm not saying that. I'm picking you definitely to win that game. I think you could separate yourself. I think things could be close early, and then you separate yourself. I don't think they're as talented. Well, I know they're not as talented as you. If you find a way to lose that game, that's strictly on coaching. Strictly on coaching. Now, I know the coaches don't go out there, catch the passes, make the throws. I get all that. But you got to be able to tell your dudes, to tell your front guys up front, we're not taking this one lightly today. Oh, by the way, if we do beat both USCs, we beat South Alabama and Nichols. Man, you go into that week against Ole Miss undefeated, there's no telling what could happen. No telling. So do I think that you have some hurdles and question marks and things that you have to overcome in the first 5 weeks of your season? Yes. I also think that every one of those games are winnable. Every single one of them. The question is, do you win them? So UCLA is a team that is in that mix that you got to take care of business on. But there's not an area that I worry about. Not one. If there is something like, guys, you don't have no idea what to expect from their offense at this current moment. None. Well, Blake, what did they do this spring? Nothing. Because Deshaun Foster left, came back. Chip Kelly was gone. They had gone through all the motions. There's no business for you losing this game. None. You should be able to put up 35, 40 plus. Don't play with them defensively, though. Their front can get after you. Guys, if you play UCLA and you're in a situation where you can't get a running game going early, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. I know this O-line's going to be good, if not borderline elite. Their D-line held some shit down last year. Top 2 in rushing defense. A lot of that's got to do with DeAnton Lynn that you see in week 1. Schematically, he did things that were very beautiful. Very beautiful. But I'm just telling you, I don't think they have the dudes on the outside to cover you. I just don't. And I hate it for Deshaun Foster. I think he's put in a bad situation. I think he's got to figure things out quickly. It's not fair to him to have to go to arguably the loudest place in the country, potentially at night, early in the season. Yeah, no way. No way. It's not happening. I legitimately have no idea what they're going to do at quarterback. None. Now, they'll tell you what they're going to do, and they'll tell you that they got this guy and that guy. No, they don't. Not compared to an LSU. Let me portal. Let's look at it here. Because here's their portal class from this year, and they had a lot of departures. Okay. When Dante Moore left, I think that filled a big time hole, very big time hole for them at that position. I don't know what they're going to do. They're losing Kamari Ramsey. They're losing Rico Flores. They're losing Carson Ryan. Jay Toa does stay, so that's a big win for them. They do bring in DeMarcus Davis, okay, that was at Wisconsin. And so let's see what happens with DeMarcus Davis. Maybe he is the guy that can go in there and do some things. But, guys, I had no idea what to expect from him. No idea what to expect from him at all. They brought in Michael Cormody, the tackle from Notre Dame. Couldn't start there. Had a transfer. KJ Wallace from Georgia Tech. Couldn't really play there. Had a transfer. Jake Wiley. He left. So, yeah, man. There's just nothing that they do that would surprise me. Or, I mean, that should surprise you. So we'll see. Andrew says Garbers will be the quarterback. He was a starter for them last year. I think he will. But I honestly don't know, though. I honestly don't know. I don't know what Deshaun Foster is going to do. But Garber was the starter last year, yes. He was. I'm pulling up his stats. I don't think he's better than the DeMarcus Davis kid, though. Let me pull up Garber's stats from last year. Let's see. Ethan Garber in 11 games, 67%, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Wasn't that bad in the running game either. But I don't know, man. I don't know if this DeMarcus Davis kid doesn't come in from Washington and doesn't, by that point, doesn't play a little bit. I don't know that. We'll see. Carson Steele's gone. Dante Moore's gone. TJ Hayden's gone. Or Harden's gone. Yeah. All right. Let's get out of here. Yep. All right. We'll see y'all again soon. Y'all have a good night. It's going to be Father's Day this weekend. Spoil your daddies. Spoil your dads if you have them. I get spoiled every day when my kids wake up. We'll see y'all tomorrow, man. Or Monday, whenever we go again. Y'all have a good one. Peace.